Welcome or welcome back to Mia's Life with Books. This is my first intro to my first reading vlog for this channel, which is super exciting, as reading vlogs were one of the main things I was excited about filming for this channel. And I think we're starting on a very fun one, because this week I am letting TBR prompts choose my reads for the week. I am a mood reader through and through, so I don't do normal TBRs. Therefore, I don't get to have the fun of doing TBR prompts monthly. But sometimes when I'm feeling a bit indecisive, I will let a TBR prompt choose my read. I've done it as a mini series on my booktok, where I've had a TBR wheel with a few prompts on help me choose my next read, and I just thought it would be a fun thing to do to let that choose my reads for the week for my first reading vlog. Obviously this is my first official proper full-length long form reading vlog, so it might be a bit trial and error, but I hope you enjoy. The few times I have used the TBR prompt wheel to choose my reads, it has always been successful, so I'm hoping for a successful week of good reads. So hopefully I'm right, and hopefully it goes well, hopefully I enjoy it, hopefully you enjoy it, but I don't think there's much else to say other than let's choose the first book. So this is the TBR prompt wheel that I usually use when I do these videos on my booktok. As you may have noticed, some of the prompts are quite vague, and that is purely to accommodate the mood reader in me, just because I feel like if the prompts are too specific, it may lead to me choosing a book that I don't actually want to read. So I've always just tried to use vague prompts to kind of avoid that situation. So therefore I can kind of have it help me choose my read, but also still stick to the mood reader in me, if that makes sense. Maybe one day I'll try and add some more specific ones in and see how we go, but this works for me for now. And I think it's still fun for the video. I think it's time to spin now, so let's go. Ooh, okay, 2025 release. I'm actually really happy with 2025 release because I feel like there will be a lot of books that I can fit into this prompt, and a lot of books that I'm excited for that can fit into this prompt. I already have some ideas floating around in my head, but first I'm going to look through my Kindle to see if there's any on my Kindle that jump out to me, and then we can look at the books I have with me at uni. I think in my head I already kind of have one that I want to choose, and that is Accomplice to the Villain. In my head that is the one I want to instantly choose, but I'm still going to have a little bit of a look, see if there's anything else that jumps out to me, but that might be the one I end up going for. Got my trusty little Kindle here. I could choose Silver Cloak by Laura Stephen, which I did have as NetGalley art. However, I just didn't get around to reading it in time because it was over the summer when I was busy with work and everything. I could read that because that is now out, and I should read that at some point. Or I could do Riley Sager with a Vengeance. Spoiler alert, I do think I'm going to do a reading Riley Sager books for a week vlog in October. Maybe I'll save that for that. Oh, The Compound. I'm not sure if I'm really in the mood for that. Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. Made for Each Other by Lynn Painter. It's Always the Husband by C.L. Taylor, that came out earlier this year. 1 in 4 by Lucinda Berry, that also came out earlier this year. The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark, again, came out earlier this year. I have a lot of options there. I think we all know where I'm going to go with this, because some of these, they are calling my name. Like, I would quite happily pick up a lot of these. Like 1 in 4 by Lucinda Berry, that one is kind of intriguing me, I won't lie. I think we should look at my uni physical TBR books and perhaps pick up Accomplice to the Villain. These are all the books that I have with me at uni. I am pretty sure the only ones at 2025 release are Wrath of the Dragons, The Thrashers, and Accomplice to the Villain, and Picture Imperfect, but I'm doing another reading blog for those two, so we're going to ignore that. Realistically, I think my only option is Accomplice to the Villain. I think as soon as I got this prompt, I knew I was going to choose this one. That's it. It's decided. The first book in this reading vlog is going to be Accomplice to the Villain. This is the third book in the Assistant to the Villain series. Obviously, don't worry, there won't be any spoilers in any of my reading vlogs. You're not going to be spoiled for this one or the others in the series. If you didn't know what the first book, Assistant to the Villain, was about, we essentially follow Evie Sage, who has to get a job to support her family, and she sees that the villain is hiring an assistant, and she takes that job, which is a very basic premise and summary for that book. When I tell you, when I read these books, I just have the best time reading them. It is not an exaggeration. They are so much fun to read. It's just got the best cozy fantasy vibes. So I'm very intrigued to see what happens in this book. I'm very excited to go back into this world with these characters. I think this is a great first option. So for 2025 release, we are going for Accomplice to the Villain. I will say I am actually filming this before I'm going to start this book, just because I'm not going to have time to have filmed this before I start the book, if that makes sense. If I look different when I'm showing the clips of me starting it, that would be why. Last night and I am now 95 pages in, and I did realise I didn't really give a good outline of what the first book is about, at least, so I thought I'd give it a tiny bit more detail. As I did mention, our main character Evie does get a job as the assistant to the villain. In the villain's kind of staff, there is a rat, in the sense of there is someone that is feeding information to the villain's enemies, which is sabotaging the villain and his goals. So therefore Evie is helping the villain not only with his day-to-day villainous duties, but also to find this traitor in amongst the staff. That's just a bit more detail. I just realised when I was editing it that there wasn't that much, so I thought I'd go a bit more into detail, but I feel like with these books it is kind of better to go in with not too much knowledge anyway, especially because the plot does definitely develop a lot further, especially as you go further through the series. But anyway, back to this one now. I am just loving being back in this world. As I've said before, I just have the best time reading these books. I was honestly already laughing from the first page. The writing is just so witty, and I also think the banter between the villain and Evie is just top tier. It always makes me smile, it makes me giggle and kick my feet. It really is just hilarious. And the found family trope in this series is very, very prominent, and I absolutely love it, and I love seeing all these characters back together and the different dynamics and relationships that we have developed throughout the series so far. We also have a couple of new point of views in this one, which is super exciting, so I'm interested to see why certain characters have been given perspectives and whether that has something to do with the plot and their kind of prominence in the plot. There are definitely multiple threads kind of being formed that I can see, and I am intrigued to see how we keep forming these and where they kind of go. I definitely think it is a solid start so far, and of course I am absolutely loving it, as I knew I would. So I'm excited just to read a bit more. Left of this, so I read about 150 pages last night, and then when I was at uni earlier I read around 50 pages as well, so I'm very close to the end. At the moment I have no idea how it's going to end, so that is kind of making me a bit nervous, because there are a lot of characters that I care about in this book and a lot of characters that I don't want to see hurt. There are also a lot of different narrative threads that I'm waiting to see how they kind of wrap up for the end of this. I do know this is not the last book in this series as far as I'm aware, so I know not everything is going to be fully solved, or if there is, there's still going to be elements that can kind of move on throughout the series. But I just know it's just making me very, very nervous, and I'm scared to finish it. I also just don't want to finish it because then I have to wait again a very long time the next one. I'm kind of surprised how quickly I got through it, not because of the content itself, but just because of the format of the book. Like, it looks tiny and it is only 355 pages or 357 or something like that, but the text is minuscule, and it obviously the margins are like quite small as well. So there's a lot of text that fits on a page. However, the chapters are also short, so that helped a lot, because I feel like if they were longer chapters with the amount of text on each page, it would feel a bit slower. However, I think because I love the characters in the world so much, that wouldn't be too much of an issue anyway. But as it is super fast paced anyway. So I just thought I'd pop in to say I'm near the end and I'm scared. But at the same time, I am looking forward to finishing it and seeing where we end off. I will obviously give my full thoughts once I have finished this, which for you will be in a couple of seconds. I have just finished this book. I need the next one immediately because what just happened? The ending had me on the edge of my seat. I just had no idea where it was going to go, but I absolutely loved where it ended up going. Although I am definitely feeling anxious for the next book. to see where we go from here, just because, like I said previously, there are a lot of characters that I care about, and I feel like the next book is going to make me worry a lot about a lot of them. I do think that one thing this series does very well is the plot twist, or the reveals. So many of the reveals in this book had me gasping out loud. I honestly don't think any book makes me have as many physical, visible reactions as this book does between my gasps and my laughter, because I'm just so attached and so consumed by it that I just can't help but react out loud. This definitely did have some shocking reveals, and I honestly did not see any of them coming at all. I just think it's so cleverly done and so well written. I also love how we still do have the original cozy fantasy vibes with the light-hearted, fun, hilarious moments, even though we have got a bit deeper into a more kind of intense plot with slightly higher stakes. I think the balance between keeping that kind of cozy fantasy vibe as well as some of these more intense moments is done really well. I'm so glad that the cozy fantasy elements have managed to stay kind of true to the plot. That didn't make sense, but I feel like you will know what I mean. If you couldn't tell, this was a huge success. I absolutely loved it. I need the next one right now, even though this one only just came out, so I think I'm gonna have to wait a bit longer, which is slightly annoying, and I just can't wait for the next adventure in this series. I just loved it so much. I gave this one 4.5 stars, which is the same rating that I gave to Assistant to the Villain. Apprentice to the Villain I gave 4 stars to. This one has gone back up to 4.5 stars. I obviously love the whole series anyway. I will say I think I did prefer Assistant to the Villain, the first book, slightly more. This is a very close second to it, hence why I also gave it 4.5 stars. Now I think we just need to choose my next read. So let's see what the TBR prompt wheel has to say. Starting a series is actually a very exciting prompt, as there are a lot of series that I really want to start. You may be asking me, Mia, why do you need to start more series when you're already in the middle of a lot? One, my answer is I already own a lot of starts to new series anyway, so they need to be read eventually. That's my main excuse. But I don't really need an excuse anyway, because I'm not really in the middle of that many series anyway, and technically, having just finished Accomplice to the Villain, I am now up to date on another series anyway, so I can kind of replace that one with a new one anyway. I'm going to go look at my physical TBR, see what the options are. Also going to look on my Kindle, see what the options are there. I'll let you know the options, and then we'll decide. I probably have more than what I have chosen on my physical TBR that are the start of series. I have chosen books that are the start of series that are already completed, instead of just being like the first book in a series that doesn't have any other books out, just to make it a bit easier for myself when deciding. I also did look at my Kindle. Similarly, I did try and just choose ones that have already got books out, and there are options such as A Fate Inked in Blood, The Hurricane Wars, Spin the Dawn, Kingdom of the Wicked. However, I think I am more leaning towards the 2 books I have got on my physical TBR, and those are The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni and A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I've wanted to read the Prison Healer trilogy for so long, and I do own the whole trilogy. A Deadly Education is more of a newer addition to my TBR, but it's one that has been on my radar for a long time. I could go for either of these. I'm really not sure which one. I do feel like I have been waiting and waiting to find the right time to start this. So I think this is my sign to finally start the Prison Healer trilogy. As much as I am also intrigued by this one and do want to read it soon, I think I'm going to go with The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. So for the prompt of starting a new series, I'm going with The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. I have also heard this book ends on a big cliffhanger, but it's a good job that I do have a second and third books in the series. But obviously with the video that I'm doing currently, if I wanted to jump straight into the second book, I'd have to hope that it fits into the prompt that I get next. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself there. So for now, let's start The Prison Healer. Just over 100 pages into The Prison Healer, and I am really enjoying it. So we're essentially following Kiva, who is a prisoner at the prison Zalendorf, and as you can probably tell by the title, she has the role of the prison healer. She is in charge of looking after all the prisoners when they have injuries or illnesses, but she's also in charge of taking in the new prisoners and of getting them physically ready for the prison, as well as branding them. And then one day the rebel queen arrives at the prison, and this queen has been sentenced to do these trials. However, in a turn of events, Kiva ends up volunteering to take the queen's place in these trials, and if Kiva succeeds, they will both be granted their freedom. If not, they're both gonna So this book has something that I really enjoy, and that is trials, so I'm excited to see more of those, as we haven't really got into that part yet. I like seeing when authors put certain unique twists on trials and how each author does them differently, so I'm excited to see how they're going to happen in this one. I already really enjoy Kiva as a main character, and I'm excited to kind of get to know her more. There are also some side characters in this that I really enjoy as well. I'm definitely already hooked. I'm looking forward to reading more, and I think this is a really great premise, so I'm intrigued to see how it develops. I do think I am going to continue to really enjoy it. I'm hoping to read a decent chunk of this tonight, and I'll probably get back with you tomorrow on more of my thoughts. Last night I finished The Prison Healer, and I was in shock. I was genuinely so shocked at the twist. Despite knowing that going into this book there is a big cliffhanger that everyone talks about, I just did not see it coming. It was so unexpected but so cleverly done. That ending alone almost made me boost my rating a little bit more. I also cried towards the end of this book, which I wasn't expecting either, because yes, I had formed a very deep attachment to certain characters, but I still didn't expect to have to cry over these characters, and yet I did. The ending was just a complete wild ride, and I'm still a little bit speechless, if you ask me. Definitely cannot wait to jump into The Gilded Cage, which is the second book. I'm definitely intrigued to see where we go with it, because the ending has made me itching to find out what happens next. I did really enjoy this book overall. I feel like it was very easy to read and it was quite fast paced. I mean, I think it dropped off a little bit in the middle, but because it was so easy to read and the characters were so fun and likeable, it kind of flew by quite quickly. I did feel that at times the writing was slightly repetitive, just in some of the phrasing. Felt like some phrases were repeated more often than others, but like that wasn't so big of an issue that it kind of ruined the book for me or anything. It was just kind of something that I noticed, but it didn't really fully bother me. But I've heard apparently even the writing gets better as the series goes on. I feel like that tiny issue will probably be fixed as the series goes on anyway. The trials in this were very unique. I feel like they were kind of evil compared to some other trials. I feel like a lot of trials are evil, but these ones seemed even more evil. I don't really want to say why because that's a spoiler. I feel like if you read this book, you will know why. I think they've got a kind of evil streak to them. Although the trials, or the audios as they're called in this book, are kind of at the centre of the plot, I feel like the trials themselves didn't take up too much time, which isn't a bad thing. I just feel like sometimes they were over very quickly. But I also think because of the nature of the trials, that kind of did make sense. That's not me really complaining about it because I enjoyed where we spent the rest of the time of the plot anyway. I think what we were given was good and it worked. Overall, I really enjoyed it. Tip is such an adorable character and I loved his kind of sibling relationship with Kiva, kind of Kiva's sisterly bond with him. As a reader, I just really do love side characters. Like, side characters always seem to be the ones that get my heart, and this was no different. I really did enjoy seeing the relationships form with those side characters with Kiva. I said overall I really enjoyed it and I cannot wait to read the second one. In the end, I did go with a 4-star for this one. I was thinking once I finished it, maybe it's a 4.5 star just because I cried and then was so shocked at the ending. I kind of sat on it for a little bit and I realised it probably is still more of a 4. If I did 0.25 ratings, it would probably be a 4.25, but I don't do that, so it's a 4, but secretly it's a 4.25. I would definitely recommend this and I'm so glad I finally read it. Thanks to the TBR prompts for making me read this sooner. Now that I finished The Prison Healer, I think it's time to choose our next book. Let's go. I'm really not sure what I'm in the mood for, so this is definitely going to be interesting, but I guess we just have to wait and see what the TBR wheel has in store. Okay, I can work with that. We got 2-word title, which I feel like is kind of perfect for not knowing what I'm in the mood for because I can basically choose any genre. I'm just going to go have a look on my physical TBR shelf and on my Kindle like I did for the last 2 books. Again, I will let you know what options I choose. I have my options here. There was also one other one on my physical TBR that had a 2-word title. That is in my 25 books to read in 2025 reading list. I will be doing a couple of vlogs for that, so I'm going to save that one. But the options on the physical TBR are The Thrashers by Julie Soto, Immortal Consequences by Ivy Marie, and Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross, all of which I'm very excited for. These two are brand new. I literally bought them last week, but I have just read 2 fantasy books back to back. I'm not sure if I want to read another fantasy book at the moment. I am dying to read these. They are still valid options. And of course, The Thrashers is a YA thriller. I feel like you can't go wrong with a YA thriller. So again, another decent option. And then in terms of reads on my Kindle's been a bit funny recently. Point proven. Like, I turn it on and it just goes black. Okay, it's restarting. I've literally only had this for just over 2 years, and I feel like that's not long enough for it to be like kind of packing up the way it is. But it's just so annoying because obviously Kindle's quite expensive, so I can't really just drop the money to get a new one. I haven't done anything to it either because like I really look after my Kindle. But anyway, while it's restarting, we'll just wait. My Kindle is now behaving, and I'm just going to have a quick browse and pick out some titles that have 2 words. The Butcher by Jennifer Hillier. I am looking in my thriller/mystery section at the moment. The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. I think I mentioned that one for the first prompt. The Intruders by Louise Jensen. There's a couple more, but let's look at romance. Oh, there's quite a few actually. Our Stop by Laura Jane Williams. Last Night by... I'm going to butcher that name. Mari McFarlane. Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. Funny Story by Emily Henry. One Day by David Nichols. I'm really not sure what I'm feeling. I think I am going to go with a thriller or a mystery actually. I'm just not sure what one. I'm stuck between The Butcher by Jennifer Hillier and The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. I'm stuck. I don't know. I think I'm going to go with The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. Don't ask me why, because I don't know. I do really want to read The Butcher, especially this kind of spooky season. So I might be reading it very, very soon anyway. Right now, I think I'm going to go with The Ghostwriter. I've heard a tiny bit about it, but not enough that I would be able to adequately explain. So, you know, once I'm into it a bit further, then I can obviously explain what it's about and give you my initial thoughts and everything. But yeah, I think we're going to go with that one. Under 90 pages of The Ghostwriter now, so I thought I'd give you my first impressions and the kind of vibe for the plot. Firstly, I will say this plot and premise is really, really intriguing. It's got a bit of a book within a book kind of thing going on. What happens is basically our main character, when she was younger, she found out that her father is rumoured to have unalived his own brother and sister in a kind of brutal unaliving. Our main character, Olivia, doesn't actually believe that her father did this, but for other reasons, she's become estranged from him anyway. So now we flash forward years later where she is a struggling ghostwriter and an opportunity comes up to ghostwrite her father's book. However, no one knows that this is her father. Due to the circumstances that she's in, she does accept. And she finds out that not only is this one of her father's books, who is a very popular horror novelist, but it is a memoir about his childhood and what led up to the tragic incident of his siblings' unalivings. We've kind of got this odd dynamic between the estranged Olivia and her father, and with Olivia trying to grapple with their kind of relationship, and then also kind of this slow unraveling of what happened. So far where I'm at, we haven't really got down to much detail about what happened, so it's still very unclear. There's a lot of questions hanging about. Not much has been really revealed yet. I am only less than 90 pages in, so that is expected. But I can tell you it definitely has me hooked, and I am waiting to find out more. Because honestly, I am so invested. It's really hard to know whether Olivia's father did it or not, because there's a lot of contrasting views and opinions. I just can't wait to keep reading and to find out what actually happened and to get to the bottom of it. I'm also kind of flying through it. You'll be pleased to know my Kindle has been holding up so far. I managed to get, like I said, nearly 90 pages through without any issues. Fingers crossed it's surviving and thriving, because I need my emotional support Kindle. That's just my first initial thought. I will obviously try and update you again before I finish. I do have a bit of a busy weekend coming up though. It is currently Friday, so I'll only have time to read in the evenings. I think I should have it finished by the end of the week, which will be perfect to finish off this reading vlog. Stay tuned for that, and yeah, I'm gonna go read some more because I am low-key addicted. I have now finished The Ghostwriter. Sorry I didn't get around to giving another update, but I basically finished it the next day anyway. I didn't have time to film an update because that was one of my busy weekend days. It is now Monday now, so I finished this 2 days ago, and I can confirm that I absolutely loved loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars in the end, so obviously that is very high rating. And I think it's been a while since I've rated a thriller this high. I might be wrong, but it feels like it's been a while since I've read a thriller that I've loved as much as I love this one. As I was saying in the last clip, I was literally addicted to this book and I couldn't put it down, and I did not want to put it down, hence why I finished it across 2 days. I just think in the end it was very cleverly done, and the entire time I wasn't sure who to trust, what to believe, what was right, what was wrong, and it was just constantly trying to put all these different puzzle pieces together, not knowing what to trust and what to not trust. And I kind of do really enjoy that in the thriller, like an unreliable narrator or some sense of unreliability in a thriller is so much fun, and I really did enjoy trying to put all those pieces together. And yeah, it still shocked me. There are multiple twists that I just didn't really see coming. I think in the end it all kind of pieced together very nicely. And there was also a small element of sadness that I wasn't really expecting to get with this book as well. Only very small. I wasn't like crying or anything, but there was definitely a bit of an emotional kind of aspect to this book and mystery, I suppose. This book just had me on the edge of my seat, constantly wanting to figure out what was happening, what the truth was. And I do think it was just written so well. It was so fast paced, so gripping. As I said, very cleverly done, I think. And I did just really enjoy it. And I'm very glad I read it, because I feel like if I hadn't got that specific prompt, it probably wouldn't have necessarily crossed my mind to read this book as soon. But I was just choosing on my own accord. So I'm definitely glad that I picked it up. I would highly, highly recommend it. And again, I still think the book within the book trope is one of my favourites, and I think that was executed very well as well. We're finishing this vlog on a high note. All 3 of the books that I have read in this video have been really good, 4-star or above. So that is a big success, I think, and I love them all. I've had a lot of fun making this vlog. I'm kind of sad that it's now over. However, I can jump straight into filming a new one, which is exciting. I really hope you enjoyed watching this vlog. If you did enjoy it, it would mean a lot if you dropped a like, and maybe even subscribe if you want to see more reading vlogs like this one. It would honestly mean the world to me. And also feel free to comment any of your thoughts about the books that I've read in these videos, and we can have a discussion in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and if you made it this far, I really, really appreciate it. That's all from me, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.